I can't believe what I found, what I discovered. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm buzzing. Right, so, hi, my name is Maya. I'm the Astrology Crown. This is a channel where I talk about astrology and life as I've experienced it, as I learned it, sharing my wisdom, life and astrology wisdom. And today I wanted to talk about Pluto in Pluto squaring the nodes. So this is the theme of the summer, a major evolutionary theme, a super significant transit, possibly the transit of the year, if you ask me. And so as I was preparing for this video, I was obviously looking at some transits and dates and just and then at one point I just realized that this story that's unfolding this summer is neatly tying us to a near future that is mega significant. Right, I don't want to talk too much in codes, but at the same time I don't want to reveal upfront too much. I want to just announce something and then I want to go into the detail of it. So, because this is such a monumental time this summer, so important, I'm opening my consultation room to new clients who would like to work with me. And if you are one of those, then just go into the description. There'll be a link and everything you'll need to know in that link. So yeah, I'll see you, off screen in my inbox, booking a session with me. So now let's get into it, right? So this is huge. So the future I'm talking about, let me start there. Let me start at the end. In 2027, there is a shift in the energetic makeup, blueprint design. In fact, I should use the word design. Energetic design of human beings. Last time this shift happened was in, I don't know, was it, I think, 18th century or something like that? Or 17th, I'm not too sure, but a long time ago. So this is human design language and human design territory. Don't worry about these technical terms. You can explore them, but it's essentially the way our body is energetically designed according to a methodology and school of thought, if you like, called human design. We were set up a certain way, and now in 2027, after centuries of being this way, that is going to change. Now, my design and your design is not going to change, but whoever gets born from 2027 will change. Now, the key of this change, the only one I'm interested in bringing here because it's the change, right? Without going into detail, which I will link a good video on that topic below as well if you want to go deep a little bit with the human design part of it. But in a nutshell, what we are doing, what we are shifting from and what we are changing into, even if it's not in our design collectively, because it's all these changes are transits. Planets are moving through different parts of one's design, or in terms of astrology, one's chart. So it's the same thing in the mechanisms of these methodologies, just very different language and but the same archetypes, just differently positioned and talking in different ways. And so we will be all experiencing it. And whoever gets born from 2027 onwards, from that change, when that change happens, will actually have that new design. And some fractions of human design talk about that will be a different species, like human but hybrid. I don't know. That's wow, and I'm open to it totally as an idea. Why not? But don't know much about it. What I do know though is that we have been in this collectively for those centuries. Quite a few centuries in this particular incarnation cross, which essentially means we were in the tribal era. That's all you need to know. We were all about huddling together, communities, groups, living together as a way of, it's basically how we kept safe. It's like safety in numbers. And I have talked about this without knowing this so much about human design. From early days on this channel and other platforms, I've been talking about this, that we are moving away from, that's an old way of being. Now, so there's that, so we are moving from that tribal way of being into the era of individual. Now, this is not the individual of the capitalism, like, me. as opposed to anyone else. In a way it is, but it's the intention or the energy. It's not. Individualism in the capitalist system is still very much reliant on others, in that we are doing it so that we either are separate from others, it's like, or that we are better than others, or that we can maybe help others as well. It's like always related, connected to the other, like the way we just can't think differently, especially us who are born in pre-2027. We'll have harder time thinking like this, but we will. The times will be forcing us, if you like. But this individual, era of the individual, and that individual will be starting from a good place, from a place of like, and we're already there, meaning many of us, I know I have been speaking like this and feeling like this since a long time ago. In fact, I was partly brought up like that, although in practice didn't really translate, but the idea was there, which is that I need to, being selfish, being focused on yourself first and foremost, is essentially how you add goodness to the world. Because if you're not good, if you are not good, then everything else around you can't be good, right? You just haven't got the goodness to give it, because you haven't made good with yourself. And so that's the individualism that will be reigning as of 2027. I mean, I'm using this kind of like, as if life is not like that. It's not like all of a sudden we'll wake up on 2027 whenever and it will be a different color around us. No, of course. But it's like, and people already, this is not a new idea, but I don't know, obviously it's not 2027 yet, but I imagine the shift will be far more palpable. And I think it's already big time happening. That this idea of selfishness and looking after yourself is actually first and foremost, right, is becoming the norm. So that's where we're headed. And in terms of like eras and major shifts, and like I say, even the ideas of like new human species being born is like, whoa. Now let's backtrack and come to today, where we have Pluto squaring the nodes. Why are they connected? Why is this Pluto squaring the nodes relevant, and how it's connecting us to that time? So let me first start by, I did say, didn't I, because this is about 10th take I'm doing, when any planet squares the nodes, it's a time for course correction. And because the course is the trajectory between the south node and the north node, so the nodal axis, right? But the square is going, you need to go to the north node via the square point. So we would typically, without any planet or any point in our chart, or by transit interfering with our nodal axis, but there's always, at least by transit, something squaring our, even every month we're having a moon squaring us. In fact, twice a month is squaring our nodal axis. So we're always course correcting. Even if by natal placements we don't have a square to our nodal axis, we are still, by transits, always doing subtle or less subtle course correction. Because without anything, if you think about it, it's like the opposite. It's like South Pole and North Pole on Earth, right? So if you had no other bearings, you just go and you just don't know whether you're going in the right direction, right? Because you have no bearings, you have no reference points. So when you get a square, it's going, hey, over here, this is the route, right? So when you have that square planet, the planet squaring the nodes being Pluto, then it's like, wow, the evolution is like the change, the profundity of that change, the importance of that change, right? Of the course correction is monumental. So there's that. That's one level of and layer of monumentality. The other is that so let me just put it this way. The square to the nodes started when Pluto was in Aquarius, and the nodes were and still are in Taurus and Scorpio. And now Pluto has moved into Capricorn, and the exact square will happen when the nodes are in Libra, South Node, and Aries, North Node. So both axes, Taurus and Scorpio, and Aries and Libra, are about the tension, the opposition because they're the opposite ends of the axis, right? They're the opposite signs. The tension between the self and the other. And in both instances, we have north nodes being in the self part of that tension. And north node is where we are headed. So that's the unfolding. You know, the evolution really means unfolding, the etymology of the word, going back to Latin roots. I think evolution is Latin, isn't it, not Greek? So whichever of those ancient languages, or Indo-European or whatever, is means unfolding, right? Just that. It's unfolding. We are moving. It's a momentum. It's a movement forward. It's rolling out. Like, so that's what north nodes are. They are the evolution signpost, and both are in the self part of this tension, because both Taurus and Aries, they're the first two signs. They're part of the first quadrant of the zodiac, which are all about the self. Because I'm born, right? Look at me, I'm alive. Then I'm, in the Taurus. Oh, look, I have this, I have that, and it's all the way till the Libra piece. We are very much in the self. I mean, Virgo is the first inclination of like, hold on, this self. Let me just look at this self. I'm not sure if I'm all on board with this self, right? And then we go into Libra. But up until Leo, including Leo, we're all about the self. So all the signs are just so about the self, just self, right? Hence Taurus and Aries, which are north nodes in this story. And the other is the relationships are with Scorpio and Libra pieces, and they're south nodes, meaning we have to learn to be ourselves within the relationships. That's probably the headline of this video. And of this video, well, of the transit Pluto this summer, of the Pluto square in the nodes summer transit. That's the headline. For the future of 2027, and I'll get to that in a moment, not so much, because by then we will have learned this lesson, or we'll had to have learned this lesson, or we will, if not, we'll be left behind. By that I mean I will be in my, well, not that old actually, but all the generations are already in their later years, and it doesn't matter if they don't get on board with a new paradigm to that extent, because they're on their way out anyway. So you get what I mean by, like, you will have missed your you will be left out if you don't get on board fully, and that's fine, because that's your journey, that's your evolution. You have evolved fantastically up until a certain point. So the nodes are pointing us to the self, the emphasis on the self, the individual, right? But the square is the course correction. Now, so we are going towards the course correction. We are going towards the north node, in both north nodes being the self, right? So that's what we are evolving. We're getting better at being ourselves in relationships, like being true to ourselves, not doing the codependency of Libra, people pleasing of Libra, all the shadow aspects of Libra, right? And we're not doing the power tripping and control of Scorpio. We are letting go of the other once they have completed whatever their work with us was, right? We're not hanging on to, we're not possessive, right? Those are the kind of shadow qualities of Scorpio. Before we can get to the north node, to our evolutionary destination of the evolved self, of emphasizing the individual, our individuality comfortably, even while we are in relationships and all that. Before we can get there, Pluto's going, oi, over here. You haven't still finished this work with Aquarius and Capricorn. So it first started in Aquarius, the square in the nodes. And I know from my personal experience, and you might relate to this as well, I have noticed a major, like a difference between, I even wrote about this on my personal account, Instagram. if you follow me there, you will have seen it in my stories, that I'm having some family big crisis happening, and it's fine. It's life, and it's nothing to worry about or whatever, right? I mean, it's irrelevant. But my point is, times like that, in the past, I would have been dreading having some conversations around those events, or even facing some of those events, or facing some people, family members, or it would have been, oh my God, I can vaguely remember, because it does feel so like a long time ago. And this was happening just on the tail end of the eclipse kind of entered my life. And I said to you, I think I said to you at the beginning, that the Pluto squaring the nodes started the last eclipse, which was May time, and it will end the next eclipse, which is in October. And the difference, this change that I noticed this time around, as these events, like monumental events happening in my life, that I have reached a point where I'm able to be with myself and be myself. Like, my life is fantastic. I live a great life. I have created a great life, for which I'm deeply grateful. I count my blessings every day. And yet there is stuff in my life happening that it's not as happy, and it's not as easy, and it's not right. And that can sweep me up, and whip me up in that whirlpool, and that I don't know, tornado, whatever, of energy and difficulty and suffering and all that. And it does. But it's Karen Curry Parker, just quickly. Welcome to Mercury in Gemini Mind. She's a human design expert, Karen Curry Parker. So you can Google her, you'll find her. She taught me this, I don't know, years ago, that what we want to learn in our life as a way of finding our center and coming together, all these different pieces of us, like, integrating shadow work, right? Is to reduce the oscillations between our highs and our lows, or all the extremes that we are, right? And she had a graph, like, the sinusoid, right, going up, and it just gets, eventually it starts like this, and then eventually does this, right? And eventually you have such a short, you go up and then you go down, or go up, down, whatever, right? You don't, it takes you like a minute or a day to recover, where before it would be a month, right? Because something has totally derailed you, some event, something, right? And so what's happening to me now, it's like, I imagine, would have derailed me big time in the past. Now I'm able to let myself feel those feelings, which are to do with family, so tribal. Remember I talked about how this change in 2027, we are moving from tribal to individual, right? So, and I'm born before 2027, so these tribal pieces are in my conditioning. Even though I'm born strong individual in my design, I'm all individual. So that's why maybe I'm more likely to get on board faster and quicker with the new paradigm than someone else who had a strong tribal circuitry. But I don't know, that's just my guess. I'm noticing in my life already, with Pluto starting to square the nodes in Aquarius, where this individuality is healthy. Like, I'm not using it to cover up. So I'm like, I want to be an individual. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to feel for other people, blah, blah, blah. No, I am the individual. I have a good life, and I'm living in my life, myself, right? But also there are other people in my life that I'm able to be with them fully for the duration, and then come back without the guilt, without any problem, without feeling like I'm abandoning them, or like something's wrong with me, right? Then I'm now happy, even though I was in deep suffering just yesterday because of the events, right? Now that I have never experienced before. This is the time I have tested it. Maybe I was ready for it a year ago, 5 years ago, I don't know, but I never had this experience. And it happened during the Aquarius Pluto squaring the nodes. And then it's moving into now Capricorn. So the individuality became clear. And my questions around that time were like, wow. And what I wrote in my journals and various places was like, this idea to how do you live with the dark times without them enveloping you, and still having your light times, because your times are light, right? Because you as yourself are going through the light times. And it was a big theme, like, but I was realizing that the individual piece was healthy, because the family was healthy always, because I was certainly far more comfortable being with the others, for them, the way they need me to, than to be myself, if that's in conflict, or at least it's different to what they need me to. Now, for the first time, while Pluto in Aquarius, all about individuality, I realized that I'm healthy individual too, and it's okay to be that while also being there for other people. And then he moved to Capricorn, and now the family stuff is even more intense, and it has intensified big time. But so Capricorn, right, old structures, family is certainly the oldest structure as a concept for our society, right, but also in all our individual lives, certainly in mine. And old parents, right, and old people, all that, right? There is all the Capricorn theme there. Pluto is there. So Pluto is in Capricorn now. So this is what I meant by the last test. So that's the tribal piece. So Capricorn is all about old structures, meaning, not because Capricorn loves old, it does love old, but it's like, it's this, it's the Saturn archetype, it's the Saturn principle, i.e. Capricorn, they're kind of interchangeable to a degree. Which is just because you've done something for so many times, it's taken a long time to get somewhere. It becomes old because it's taken so long time to get there. That's the old piece about Capricorn, not because it's old and decrepit, it's just that it takes time to get there. And so everything that we have built, including our families, including our identities around our families, or anything old, whether that's your work, whether that's your relationships, whether that's anything that's been that you have built over a long period of time, any identity you have tied up in that, it's now asking you to check in with yourself whether, so that's a Libra piece, like the square is between the Capricorn and the Libra, I'm now talking about in relationships, right? Is like, you need to find yourself within that, you need to extract yourself rather, well, both really, first find and then extract yourself as a separate individual. So that's Aries, that's Taurus, but also Aquarius. But also maintaining that relationship, Libra and Capricorn, the old structures, right? Well, as long as they're healthy, but that's the health, right? The old structures will die, literally, because they will deteriorate physically. We don't have to destroy them. And if they're meaningful in any shape or form, and I'm expand this symbolically, metaphorically, if we're talking family, if we're talking relationships, anything, right? If we love them, we don't have to cut them out of our life. This is the lesson. This is what this square is asking us to do, is to actually continue to have these old things in our life, but not at the expense of our newness, freshness, uniqueness, individuality, our own selves, right? That's the square. So it has given us a flavor, at least in my experience, and from talking to some other people similarly, of what it's like to be an individual and be your own within a relationship, within an intimate. That's when it was in Scorpio. The South Node was in Scorpio when the Pluto was in Aquarius. So particularly in kind of intense, anything to do with scorpionic themes. In my case, this is death and aging and old age and illnesses and all that in my storyline. I don't want to expand on it, but yeah, you get what I mean. So those are also themes of Scorpio. And but also anything that gets you so intimate and close with someone else, right? That you can do that while also feeling yourself as a healthy, separate individual, without that separation, meaning lack of love or harshness or coldness or lack of care. Now that was like, whoa, beautiful. And so Capricorn is now like really giving us the flavor of those old structures and how they're meaningful and deep and soulful, Pluto, right? And we don't have to destroy them. We don't have to. They will die on their own accord when they're ready, but we don't have to cut them prematurely, because the reason we would ever in the past cut them prematurely is because we would fear that we are losing ourselves in them. This is when we were over-identifying with them. This is what Libra square to Capricorn is saying. You can get too wrapped up in the other. That's a shadow aspect of Libra, right? But now it's asking us to unwrap ourselves from the other. And that's the course correction So we have the signpost. This is how we do. This is how we meet our future selves, our next level self. This is how we meet and align ourselves with the future of humanity, where we are going at the next level of evolution of human consciousness, all the rest, right? So while he's in Capricorn, this is what's happening. We're learning to let the old do its thing, live for as long as it does want to live, whatever that old thing is in your life. All those old structures to support you if they are supportive, but never at the expense of you, your health, your own individuality, your own happiness, your own contentment, your own path, your own self, your own selfishness, your own, right? Because what happens eventually, and that will be out of the square orb, so the Pluto will not be squaring the nodes anymore once he moves back into Aquarius, because we will have learned this lesson. And so when he moves to Aquarius, we are looking at this, we are now looking at the what is this transition about between Capricorn and Aquarius? And it is about what I just talked about. It's like letting old be old, letting everything that's old in your life, if it's still beautiful, if you still love it and care for it, let it be, but don't let it oppress you. So there's that. That's what the move to Aquarius is. It's like we now need to step out now. With that stepping out, you could be easily, right, feeling all kinds of anxieties around it. I get that. But if I'm experiencing this, okay, I'm 53, so there is often, the fact that I lived for this much longer makes me possibly less, more adaptable to it or more ripe for it. I had a major coughing fit. But so I had many separations that have primed me and taught me that they're not as traumatic really ever as we think when we start to first experience separations from people we love and care about. So if you never experienced death in a family or breakup or heartbreak, this could all be scary, but that probably means you're very young. So that's all okay. That's more than fine. And yeah. It's I don't want to say you'll be fine because that's kind of patronizing, but remember that it's scary because you've never done it before. That's what I mean. It's scary because you've never done it before, and eventually you'll get good at it, or you'll just you'll develop resilience. So that's one of the things that can be happening with this transition when we move into Aquarius, and also with this squaring of the nodes. This conversation about, because essentially it is a separation process, but the separation doesn't have to mean the end. That's the point. That's the teaching. That's the realignment. That's the reminder that Pluto in Capricorn squaring the Libra, and before that Scorpio. Currently Scorpio, as I'm recording this video. None of it means the end. Just the separation means just like when you cooking something, you separate them, because it's a healthy separation. It means you coexist. You don't merge. You don't, overlap, and you don't get all dependent and codependent. But you just live. What did I just say? I used a good word, didn't I? Coexisting, right? Co-living, I think is the word. Maybe, I don't know. So the transition from Capricorn to Aquarius is the individual story as well. So we have built something, and we have built it, we may have built it for ourselves in some way. Definitely Capricorn is the self cross. It's like the axis of the self, the 10th house, right, on a natural zodiac. So it's about the self. Let's not kid ourselves. Everything Capricorn does for oneself. It's selfish, right? But it's utilitarian, so it has to. So if it's useful to oneself, it will be useful to many other selves. So that's where Capricorn becomes the public servant, because what's done good for oneself has become good for everyone or many others, right? And also Capricorn wants the recognition and status and all that. So that's how the other starts to figure into Capricorn. And the dependency develops, right? And so these structures can become too heavy because there are all these others hanging off of them, because they're finding the structure useful as well. But as we move into Aquarius, and we are moving away, we are detaching ourselves from what we created in these structures, in the image are just depicted for you, people hanging off of it, right? The structure. So we are just removing ourselves. And often in today's world, the one I inhabit is personal branding and business and all that. It's like they say, it's like you develop your personal brand, but then you look for other businesses to add to your portfolio so that you're not, so that you can leave your personal brand or kind of detach yourself from it eventually, so that you're not, you kind of are not identified just with your business, i.e. personal brand. So you have room to grow and do your own thing eventually. And so this is what's happening in 2024 when, so up until February 2024, Pluto is in Capricorn. So everything I talked about minutes ago with, the square to the Libra South Node, and how this summer is teaching us how to do Pluto in Capricorn in its final stretch of being in Capricorn. Like this is just one of the lessons. There are many other lessons, I'm sure, but this one is certainly one that resonates with me deeply and most powerfully, and the fact that it's taking me to the next, which I'll speak in a second about. And so from February 24th, Pluto is in Aquarius, which is all about individuality, but it's the individuate itself, because Aquarius is not the selfish sign. I mean, my husband is Aquarius and he can be selfish, but not one person, whoever is Aquarius, is whatever they are, that's not Aquarius. Yeah, you got that about astrology. It's like your sun, the fact that I'm Taurus doesn't mean that whatever Taurus is, that's who I am. Absolutely not, because we are our whole chart, right? So when I speak of Aquarius, I don't mean a person. I mean the Aquarius archetype, pure archetype, right? Is individuated. It's the most emancipated. It's our peak as human species in terms of our evolution. Pisces is next level where we go beyond human, but Aquarius is the human. It's the version of you that's most emancipated. So your 11th house would be that, and where you have Aquarius would be that. Those two, and there would be. No, they wouldn't be close to each other. They are in my case, but not in everyone's case, of course. Duh. So wherever you have those two, either the 11th house and then wherever you have Aquarius, those would be your two most emancipated selves, version of yourself. And so that's what I mean by individual. It's individuated, it's whole. And that's what I meant. I think I said at the beginning that this is not a selfish capitalist individualism. This is, or at least not in a derogatory sense, not in a destructive sense, not in the sense that it's unhelpful and greedy and just bad news for everyone, right? Everyone else, rather. This is the individualism that is based in wholeness, and it's about cultivating one's wholeness and practicing. And the 2027 babies onwards will have it. I don't know. They might just get born whole. Easily. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't know. Like I say, that I haven't explored the actual practical stuff of 2027. But the archetype of Aquarius is that we are all that we are. Therefore, we don't need anyone, but we desire, we want, we are social animals, but we don't need them. Like we enjoy the company of others. We value the power and the importance of coming together with other people. That's the Aquarius, right? But not from a needy perspective, because you have something and I don't have and I want that. Yes, if I'm a great speaker, let's say, whatever, or astrologer, and you're a great mathematician and someone else is a great, tailor or baker, and then we come together so that we create a city together, yes, but not because I personally need you to bake for me or to tailor for me or to do my maths for me, right? It's not selfish in that sense, that new individualism, right? I have everything, I don't need anything, right? But let's get together to do something new, to do something beyond ourselves, to do something for the greater good or whatever, right? That's the individualism that I'm talking about, that it's 2027 is going to create humans that are designed for that, far more better than you and I are. If you're watching this, then therefore it's the case. but as a collective that will be coming much more of our reality. Now, let me just conclude on this final point, which was really the beginning of the video where I just went, oh my God, I can't believe this. Why is this so neatly connected? Why I'm so confident this is ultimately the message of Pluto squaring the nodes this time around, this summer, is that in, did I say autumn? Let me just see quickly. I'm pretty sure it's autumn of 2027. Oh, where is it? Hold on. Yes, it's autumn. Autumn 2027, Pluto will be conjunct North Node in Aquarius. I mean, do you get so if Pluto is where our deepest collective evolution is, then wherever Pluto is, like in this summer it's squaring and it's in Capricorn currently, and will be there, till, like I said, February 2024, and we are learning the last stretch of lessons, and we have a last exam of Capricorn, and like I talked about that, right, collectively. And it's the deepest evolution that's going on in Capricorn, with Capricorn archetype and us in relation to the archetype. Then so this is the square, it's like, square is, like I said, it's course correction. So we haven't really done Capricorn that well. Like, we still have stuff to do there, right? That's why it's saying, but it's important that we do, because without having done Capricorn well, we can't move into Aquarius. We don't want to bring too much of the crap of Capricorn shadow, right, into Aquarius. Otherwise, we will not really make the most of Aquarius archetype, right? And so that's what the square was saying. Let's clear this stuff before we move into Aquarius. And then in 2027, autumn, Pluto will be conjunct North Node in Aquarius. And so if North Node is our evolution, it's like having Pluto on the North Node, and if you have it in your natal chart, you probably relate to this. It's like magnetic pull. It's like you cannot but do that thing where you have your North Node and your Pluto. It's like you cannot but do it. It's just like you can't. It's like obsessive compulsive pull, because that's where your soul desire wants to be, and that's where your growth and evolution and change and evolution is, right? So collectively, we will be craving. I mean, there is a repulsion as well associated with Pluto. So yes, some of us might be repulsed, but and it's like, we'll all be both, like repulsed and compulsed to be going towards the Aquarius archetype, as I talked about it previously here. And I was like, wow. And it's 2027, right, when this shift is happening. It's the year of the human design changing. It's the year of the eras in human design terms changing. Like, we have Pisces era ends and then Aquarian, age of Aquarius begins. That's what's happening in human design terms in 2027. And it's from tribal to individual at the same time as Pluto is conjunct Aquarius North Node. Like the evolution, human collective evolution, North Node. In Aquarius, the sign of not just an individual, but the sign of individuation. So be very careful when you think about this and when you consider individual. For the future reference, from now on onwards, when you say individual, think of and speak of someone who's whole, not someone who's like unique. Of course, that's a given once you're whole, that you're unique, because no one has the permutations and combinations of all these different little details of you in the same combination setup as you do, which is what makes you unique. Absolutely, that's a given. But the work isn't to be unique, it's to be all of you are in order to be unique. So that's another headline for this video. And on that note, I'm going to end. So, like I said at the beginning, if you want to work with me this summer, one-off session, or we can come up with some bespoke arrangements for new clients. Also, for all clients, contact me. I'll have a special deal with you, and you know that. You will have heard, if you're watching this, you will have heard about that already. But anyway, new clients below. If you want to work with me this summer, just follow the link below, and I look forward to hearing from you. Otherwise, yeah, just I hope you're excited about this summer and the future and all these things that are laid out for us that are awaiting us to just do and be. Okay, take care.